So
yeah,
and there we are.
I see a
Good
spit
evening.
of white thing. There we go. Right, off you go.
And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening's edition of Mauls, Ball and All podcast, presented by the IRB Rugby Group on Facebook. Joining me this evening are, amongst my IRB colleagues, Peter Burke, Sarah Duffy. All the way from Scotland is Mike Reedy. And we have a special guest this evening, as we're inclined to do on this show. We have from Clontarf Rugby Club, representing most those that position where a lot of players are very, very, very well admired of, which is the hooker position. That's Dylan Donlan. Welcome, Dylan.
Well, how are we doing?
Welcome, Dylan. How are you doing?
Glad to have you on board.
All good, thanks. How are you?
Hanging in there, Chief.
Excellent stuff.
Thank you, Chief.
Right, folks. Well, look, I suppose we'll get to the last weekend's action, and of course this weekend's your Heineken, not so much Heineken, but Investec Champions Cup matches. But just want to go straight to our special guest, Dylan. So tell us a bit about yourself. How did you end up getting started from the very beginning? How did you start off in rugby, and give us a run through of how you've managed to get to where you are today and your debut for Leinster earlier this season, please.
So originally from Galway, so Dad would have played and all my uncles would have played for Corinthians when they were kids and into their 20s. So started out about 6 or 7 years of age. And I suppose unlike most of my friends, that was kind of my one sport. Tables and that then in hurling, but rugby was kind of my go-to. And then found myself in Clongowes, so rugby became a daily activity. And then from there, Leinster, Connacht underage, Leinster underage, Leinster 20s, Irish 20s, sabbatical in France, sabbatical in England, and yeah, Clontarf where I've made my home.
Okay, and tell us how did you end up going to France and England?
So I suppose both opportunities came through being involved with Leinster to a certain degree. So after my year 20 sub academy, I ended up over there because Eddie O'Sullivan was the head coach over there. So I was over there for 2 years working with Eddie, which was a great experience. And then again with England, I got back in with Leinster on a kind of one of these couple of month development contracts and see how it goes kind of thing. And then Stuart Lancaster was the coach there, Yorkshire man, so ended up then in Yorkshire Carnegie for the rest of that season when I suppose the Leinster didn't work out. So
okay.
Got me abroad.
What an experience.
Right, very good. Very good. So, and this season you started off your regular season with Clontarf and then you got the call.
Yeah. So I suppose I'm at the stage of my career now where I'm focusing on a career and then playing AIL. So the call kind of very out of the blue. But I suppose I know a lot of the guys in there. Aaron Dundon, who's working in there as scrum coach and under 20s coach, would be Clontarf, or would have been involved with Clontarf when he was playing. So rang me up on a Monday afternoon, basically said they were short and would I come in and kind of do a job for them for the week. So yeah, jumped at it. Thought it was a great opportunity just to get my cap and I suppose tick that box that I hadn't got to tick, and and then it obviously suited quite well with the AIL. It was a break week, so didn't interrupt any of my my dedication there. Couple of half days in work and off we went.
Very good. And I suppose, like, obviously, you're playing AIL, which is the premier. You're one of the most senior, the top clubs. You're defending champions as well. With the AIL, isn't that correct? You're defending.
We won it 2 seasons ago, and then we lost in the final last year. So
right.
The last years we've been thereabouts. Yeah, the whole time.
So you're basically you're the first or the second ranked club, really, based on that. So, from a I suppose a performance perspective, like making that step into Leinster, was there significant changes for you, or is it just basically I suppose things are a little bit tighter from, what's expected of you.
Yeah, that's probably exactly it. I mean, obviously with the Irish internationals away, the standard probably isn't, as high as it would potentially be when they're all there. The big difference, I would say, would probably just be the speed. Obviously the level of detail that you go into. So it just took a day or two to get wrapped around that, get the calls in, whole new calling system and all that. And then like the breakdown is just probably a little bit more intense in terms of you need to, otherwise there's a threat there, there's a jackal threat there on every team. So, there's a couple of key differences, probably the speed it's played at, but I mean, when you look at the quality in the AIL and the amount of, I suppose, academy and development contract guys that get released every week, the physical a huge step up, which was, I suppose, it's nice to see that as well, just to see where the AIL stands and how there as well.
Okay, so you feel that the AIL has gave you a good, I suppose, for want of a better term, a grounding. Apart from the fact that you were involved at a high level, at underage level, you feel that the AIL basically helped prep you to go in to step in.
Absolutely. I mean, you kind of hear all this stuff about the AIL back in the 90s and the early 90s, how, there was pros playing for Ireland one week and then coming back and playing the AIL the next week. And then I suppose in the 10 or 15 years that followed that, it probably took a step back and there was probably a huge divide between the provinces and the AIL. And now you just see, I suppose, the standard of the pathways coming through. There's more guys not making it, which increases the standard of the AIL. And in fairness to the provinces, the last 3-4 years, they've been really good at releasing guys as well, which just, keeps the standard of the league even higher. So I think where the AIL is situated at the moment is, it's a seriously good preparation tool for those academy guys, and it's a seriously good level for someone who's just looking to play competitive rugby, who obviously isn't a professional.
Okay, and I suppose, look, you am I right in saying you're 28? Is that correct?
Turned 29 there last week, so yeah.
Oh, belated happy birthday! So, and like I haven't managed to watch it much AIL myself. I know it is. You can get it, you can stream it and whatever. And Irish Rugby have you have access to it, but not being ageist around. But like, would you be almost one of the older guys, I suppose, playing, or are there guys well into their 30s just still knocking around at the top club level?
Yeah, I suppose it's very club dependent. I think again with the change in the last couple of years, the league has probably got quite a bit younger. You're probably less likely to come up against a group of 30-year-olds all playing for one team than you were maybe 10 or 15 years ago. But I suppose it's very club dependent. Like if you look at UCD or Trinity, they're all obviously going to be 21, 22, 23. You look at the likes of ourselves, Con, Terranure, kind of some of those team lands down up the top. You probably have a couple of guys who are late 20s, early 30s, and then your cohort of kind of mid 20s and early 20s then as well. I think this year we've got a really nice blend. We would have traditionally been probably an older team. A lot of guys kind of around that late 20, early 30 mark. Just started, I suppose, to breathe through some of our younger a lot in the last 2 years. Like Clontarf's a great community club, so there's a lot of really good local talent being pushed through there, which is great for the club as well. So it's definitely gotten a bit younger from, I suppose, when I would have even started about 10 years ago. But it's nice to see that kind of as well. So there's a group of us who are about 28, 29, 30. And then there's a nice group around that mid 20 and another nice group of lads coming through at early 20s as well.
Very good. Actually, just as it so happens, just popped into my own head. My own club is Boyne and Drogheda, and we I think you might have one or two of our former players. Chap called Dylan Lynch.
Yeah,
was
Lynch,
with yourselves.
Yeah, I think he got his first AIL match last year, and I think he got 2 or 3 at the beginning of the season as well. So he's really starting to kind of push through now as well. So it's good to see that. He's a real good kid.
Yeah. He had a bad injury there. He did his knee in or something there. I think it was actually over COVID or something like that. So that's good to hear that he's made the breakthrough with yourselves. Just one other thing I was just going to ask you out of curiosity. Is it a case that now that you've I suppose kind of broken through from the AIL club situation and got in with Leinster again, and congratulations on that. Is there a case that have you been dropped an email or a text or a WhatsApp or something by Leo saying, look, you're going to stay within the outer group, shall we say, in the event that something like that, something nuclear from an injury or suspension happens again, and you could be potentially on call?
Yeah, I suppose we've had a chat, and there's this year with the European, there's no limit on the amount of players you can have registered. So I think I'm registered for that. So in case there was something to happen, but again, you know, this talent that's there, the two lads obviously away with Ireland, and then below that, John McKee, Lee Barron, and Gus McCarthy, who was the 20s captain, the Irish 20s captain last year. You look at the talent coming through, and that is there. I'd be very surprised if I got a European game, but I mean, look, if it came around, yeah,
you'll be ready for it. And just one other thing, I don't know whether you know this or not, but do you know if there's any other, like, you know, obviously from playing against, you know, other clubs, the competition, is there another kind of, do you know if there's any other guys who have been in with a shout, let's say anybody with Terranure or Lansdowne, who are also in that kind of space, same space as yourself, but just haven't been quite as lucky?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know they are with Munster, all right. There was one of their props, I can't think of his name now, but he got a shot there at the beginning of the season. So he would have been playing AIL all last beginning of the season with Shannon, and then he's got a call up, and I think he got 2 or 3 games with Munster. So I suppose it's it never happened, but I suppose it's quite rare, especially at my age. Probably we're pushing through or 3 us week in, week out, and are trying to break in, but you know, they system with Leinster, and then we had Ben Griffin as well, who I suppose he's cool mine originally, but he would have been with us.
Ben.
And he got in with Ulster there for a while, so he's obviously trying to get back involved again. But the AIL, you know, it's a really good spot for him to try to get back in the shop window, and you know, especially for a tight head prop, you're coming up against some of those older guys who have been, you know, battle hardened by the league over the last couple of years. It's really good for those lads to develop.
And that's all very, very solid. And just, I suppose, the other thing I was going to say was the fact that you're a Galway man. There's no chance that if Pete Wilkins got on the phone and he said, "Hey, Dylan, would you jump at the call, or are you kind of happy enough to stick your lot with the blue of Leinster?"
Look, you're never going to say no to the home province. You know, you kind of, that's probably what you would have grown up thinking, the colour jersey you were going to wear, and then just through, you know, school and whatever, and a couple of things changing, it's not the way it worked out. And yeah, look, there's a funny relationship there with myself and Connacht, obviously, because being from Galway but having played for Leinster, so you wouldn't say no, but I think that's that bridge is probably gone, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Guys, anybody else want to jump in and ask a question there?
I'm just going to say there's nothing unfortunate about, you know, not burning your bridges with Connacht. Sure, yeah, sure. Why would you do that? Like, stick with Leinster, Dylan. If you want to win something, stick with Leinster. Why was you go to Connacht?
That a Leinster badge in the hat there, is it? I wonder why.
I think so. Yes, it is. It's totes a Leinster hat. There you go.
He probably has Leinster underwear and all at this stage.
No, he's got Finn Russell underwear apparently.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the one. Yeah,
He wasn't organised that.
Actually, Dylan, there you go. I'll ask you the question. It's always tends to be brought up. I think Finn Russell is one of the most overrated 10s on the planet. What do you think?
He's the kind of guy that would really annoy me if I was playing with him. I think, like, he's the guy.
There you go.
Makes your drive, but then, you know, he's the type of guy that drops the kick off or does something mad minutes later. I mean, he's a game breaker, but yeah, would you want him in a clinch game, you know, quarterfinal or semi-final of a tournament? I think he's probably going to be the difference there in terms of losing it.
And we'll end the Finn chat. Do you think he's worth $1 million a year at Bath?
If Bath won't pay that kind of money, I mean, you look at Bath have been the last couple of years, I'd say they pay $1 million to anyone who's going to get them 2 or 3 wins in the season.
that's if they don't go bankrupt.
Excellent stuff.
If they don't go bankrupt, yeah.
Just one other question one other thing that just popped into my head there, Dylan, and I just noticed it there, and I was looking it up. It just popped up on my Twitter that you are top try scorer in the AIL. You're joint top try scorer. So well done, you so far. Just on that, are you one of these? Are you following the Dan Sheehan style of hooker play where you're popping up on the wing, burst the pace, stepping the last defender and dotting in at the corner? Or are you more, the catch and drive, Rob Herring, Tom Stewart type hooker where it's the back of the maul and the bulls of Tarf are rolling over and you're there to dot it down? Which one are you?
Yeah, I wish I could say I was the Dan Sheehan making all the fancy stuff, but it tends to be 8 tries for 8 meters kind of thing, but look, you take them all, they all count at the end of the day. But yeah, most of it's back of the maul or border stuff. At my age now, you wouldn't really be running in from 40 meters, but look.
Well done, and you'll keep it up for the rest of the season.
Have you ever played with Nina?
I love when you hear. I love. Go on, Mike.
Have you ever played against Nina Ormond?
I actually, my fiance is from Nina, so.
Lovely.
Yeah, I went back and played Corinthians for a year when I moved back from France, and Nina were in the same division as us.
Nina were a great club. Great club.
Yeah, no, good club. They're going really well. That was well top 2A.
Yeah.
Is that who? Yeah. Is that who your fiance is called? Tui?
She's Morris.
Morris.
Yeah. So
Morris O'Kane.
His cousin.
Oh, okay.
So no rugby in that family, unfortunately, but plenty of hurling.
I know all the Morrises in Nina. I haven't lived there.
Here we go.
Ger Morris would be the father-in-law to be.
What, Ger Morris?
Yeah, Snowy.
Shamey is her uncle then.
Yeah, Shamey's the uncle. Yeah. Amy's Jake.
Here we go. Seed breeding generation nailed by Mike Reedy.
The only thing I know about Nina is Figurities is a great rugby pub.
I went to school with Shamey Morris.
There's too many. I think hope for every person in Nina at this stage.
Oh yeah, there is, and they're all brilliant. I've been in all of them. Didn't get barred from any of them. Surprisingly.
I find that hard to believe, Claire. You weren't barred from a pub.
I was actually, I tell a story. I was down in Nina a couple of years ago. Leinster versus Munster. Day after Stephen's Day. I was in a pub in all my Leinster finery as only you can be. That was the match that got a bit rough and ready, shall we say. A couple of the Leinster players got sent off. The abuse I took for the 90 or the 80 minutes was gas, but at the end they all come over and shook my hand and said, "We'll want you to play better in 6 weeks when we're all wearing green." It was actually very good. I met some very good rugby friends from down there.
I know Nina's a great spot.
Did anyone buy a spice bag, Claire?
There was no spice bags, but I did get a couple of pints. Got a pint off an Ulsterman and a pint off a vodka and coke off an Ulsterman and off a Munsterman.
So where do you drink in Nina when you're there?
Myself, sure. You have to go to the Hibernian. That's the
High B.
That's Martin Morris's, isn't it?
That's Martin. Yeah, so you can't say that. Fairness now.
What? Shane McGowan's funeral is on in Nina on Friday.
Yeah, I think schools are all closing down early and everything. It's like.
Jeez, I feel I'm I don't know about you, but I feel like Mike and Dylan could go off and have a chat themselves. We just bugger off.
I think we do IRB on tour in Nina and bring Dylan with us.
I know all the places anyway now.
Good idea.
Deadly stuff. Dylan, just another thing to ask you. Have you any interesting facts that you'd like to share that perhaps the wider rugby community wouldn't necessarily know about Clontarf or even yourself?
About Clontarf. Let me think. This year marked 10-year anniversary since our first AIL win this year. So that's a nice one, just to, I suppose, a note more than anything.
Yeah.
So obviously trying to do the same thing again to mark the anniversary. Anything interesting? Jeez, no, I'm awful boring. I don't have anything.
No, the reason we asked, we had Dan Sheehan or we had Dan Levy on here a few weeks ago, and he was peddling whiskey. So it was just one of those interesting things. We've discovered very interesting bits and pieces from talking to various different players. Like Peter Dooley was on here before, and he shared the story about Mac Hansen's and his tattoos.
Tattoo, yeah,
absolutely brilliant. Jared, as a Peter's dad is on Mac's leg, absolutely comedy gold.
that man's like a human canvas by the looks of him.
Yeah,
He is.
I'd
He
say
is.
especially
he is indeed.
Very true.
Andrew Moore.
Yeah. Anyway, so look, will we rattle on then with last week's URC interaction. The first match we had was on Friday night. It was Munster versus Glasgow. Munster taking that one 40-29. Dylan, as our guest, we'll come to you first. Did you see the match, or have you any thoughts or views or on the result?
Yeah, look, I mean, first off, I think great win for Munster. That first quarter, especially, they looked unbelievable. Ahern at 6 is an interesting one. He seems to get through a lot of work there, which is nice to see. I think obviously for them, they're going to be really disappointed with the Maul defense side of things. 5 tries coming from Mauls, or picking goals off Mauls, or penalty tries. So you can see why Johnny Matthews is up there as top try scorer in the URC for Glasgow. But yeah, I'd say that's probably maybe a point of concern, and you're probably looking at Munster in terms of this weekend moving forward into Champions Cup and trying to compete there. Like, I mean, if you don't have the front 5 in the pack to really deal with that kind of physicality, I think you're really going to struggle. So it'll be interesting to see, I suppose, what happens there. And they've obviously got guys to come back into the squad, which will make a difference. But I would say that's a big point of concern for them.
Graham Rentry said in the aftermath of that performance, and was pointed out to him about the 5 out of 6 Mauls resulted in tries, that it was a quick fix. Would you agree with that? With your what you could you see that those bits and pieces, that's just it's a communication issue or whatever, it can be fixed in the short term, or do you think there's something else that could be lingering as a long-term issue?
No, well, I suppose he's not wrong in saying it's a quick fix in terms of, if you look at how the defenders up into the slots to actually hit and build that front wall to stop the Glasgow Maul. So if you look at that, that's obviously a quick fix in just terms of getting guys into those slots quicker. In terms of if it happens once or twice, yeah, okay, quick fix. If it happens 5 times in a game, it's probably a little bit more in terms of, I think, personnel maybe either not having the grunt or not, just not knowing what they're doing, or at that level you'd hope it's not knowing what they're doing. But I suppose you're looking, like I said, you're looking at Munster, and I think their front 5 is probably a bit of a concern. With Scannell out injured, I mean, Archer, 35, 36, great career, but I don't think if you want to win a Champions Cup, he's really going to be your guy at tight head. Why they've gone down the route with trying to get Ollie Jaeger and see what happens there. So it'll be interesting to see, but at the same time, you look at the team they did have, like Edwin Ndogbo, really up-and-coming player. He's obviously only going to get better with time. He'll learn from all these things. And they definitely have the raw bulk to do it. Maybe just a little bit of inexperience from some of those guys to sort that out.
Okay. Peter Burke, did you see the game?
I did, yeah. I wasn't
Oh, he's
expecting
gone.
that result.
Dylan's dropped off.
Dylan has dropped off.
Whoops.
Did you kick him out, Peter, or did he just drop? Because I noticed Sarah went as well.
I haven't done anything.
Okay, that's fine. It's probably just his internet.
Hopefully he'll come back. Hopefully he'll jump back in.
He's on the Danny Brosnan internet this week.
Must be, yeah. Anyway, as we say in this, the show must go on. Yeah, I did. I saw the Munster Glasgow game. I didn't expect that scoreline, to be honest with you. I also didn't expect Munster to score 3 tries in the first 16 minutes. I think it was a bonus point they had wrapped up by half time. We spoke last week about that there was a few teams that I thought had clicked. Glasgow were one of them, Edinburgh was another one, and Connacht was another one. But, what's the best of 3 of them lost? Did the 3 of them lose? The Glasgow lost, Edinburgh won, Connacht lost.
Okay, that 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 ain't bad on your tips there.
No. I didn't predict they were going to win or lose. I just said that they.
Yeah, you tipped them, so therefore they were going to play shy. It's the Borky thing.
I didn't fucking tip anyone. I just said they clicked as a fucking team, for fuck's sake. I didn't say anything. You know what I mean? Jesus. Anyway, to go back to it, what was it? 26-5 at half time. Yeah, the big concern, as Dylan said, and I think PG said, or it was alluded to, that the Maul was absolutely shite. Needs to be worked on. But then you have like it was an okay game from a neutral point of view. Jaeger getting his first cap, brilliant. Fucking so what? Your man Nakavel or Nakavelli or
Nakavelli.
He looks
Nakavelli. He got first appearance, scores a try. Well done. Overall 6 tries. Munster up to 4th. Here's our guest. Here's Dylan back again.
Sorry, lads.
There he is. Now,
You're back with us, Dylan.
I thought Thomas Ahern had obviously man of the match. He had a great game. But he like Thomas Ahern is one of these players who will consistently put in a great performance. I have a lot of admiration for the guy. I think he's a great player. Although what his specialist position is in that back row, I don't know. But look, well done, Munster. 40 points to 29. Good win on the trot. Up to 4th of the table. Off you go. Next weekend is a different story.
Mike Reedy, as Munster man here, what were your thoughts and what did you see the game?
I did see the game. I was quite impressed. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't expecting 6 tries at all. I thought Munster played well. Now the obviously the Maul defence is a concern, but I put it down to it can't be down to physique because they never got bullied in the scrum. Like they held their own in the scrum for the entire game, and Glasgow have done particularly well in the scrum this season so far. So that's not the issue. I think part of the issue is the fact that Dogbo is only a young boy, and so is Ahern is quite young and inexperienced. So I think their positioning in the Maul has got to be something. But I agree with what you said, Peter. What's his name? The manager, this Munster manager,
Roundtree.
Roundtree.
He said after the game, if this becomes an issue, we're going to be getting pushed over the line for the whole season. It needs to be addressed this week, or that's exactly what's going to be happening. So hopefully they do address it because it would make a long season, by the way, if you're going to be vulnerable like that in a particular aspect of the game. But I thought Munster played, and I was surprised because Glasgow have been flying high, and they came to a halt, didn't they? And in fact, I think the scoreline probably flattered Glasgow, if anything, because they were well off the pace, and like Maul tries, it wouldn't be your forte. You're not going to get 5 of them in every game.
No. Claire, did you see the game?
I did. I seen bits and pieces of it. 2 yellow cards for Glasgow didn't help them, and then obviously the yellow card for Tyburn for pulling down the Maul. The weather didn't help because it was Musgrave Park. It was reminiscent of a wet and windy fucking sports ground with rain swirling sideways. The Munster played good, but five Maul tries is not really something that you should be getting a team go up against you, especially when they played 20 minutes with 14 men.
True.
Yeah.
That's true. That's my take.
Okay. Moving on, then we had Ulster were at home to Edinburgh, with Edinburgh just pipping that by 3 points. Dylan, I'll come to you again. Did you manage to catch any of that game, and what did you think of the result?
Yeah, so caught bits and pieces of it. Ulster just seemed to be such a mixed bag. It's hard to get a read on them. And I suppose that's probably been the case for the last 3 or 4 seasons. And then you're looking at this year going, there's guys who have really kind of stepped up there in terms of, I think McCluskey's probably gone to a new level in the last year. Tom O'Toole gone to a new level. You're getting Kitchoff in. You're going, these guys could really be pushing. And obviously they're still up top 5 or top 6, but you just don't know what you're going to get from them. And like you would have thought now the week before Champions Cup game, Edinburgh at home, gain a bit of momentum behind you going into that game, and then they don't manage. I know it's very tight, but you come away with a loss. It's very different losing by 2 points than it is to winning by 2 points, and the momentum you create. And then Dan McFarlane's comments after the game, like if I was in that camp, I really don't know how you're going to take that. Like, obviously it's a challenge laid down. It could go one way, but it's not the first time he's done it either. So, that only has an effect so many times. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see now Champions Cup this week how they take that and how they move forward.
Last week
Dylan.
we had this conversation in relation
on,
to.
You're going to ask the question, Pete. I was going to ask.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if I ask it ahead of you. Last week, Dylan, we had this conversation, and we basically feel that McFarland's on the way out. Like he's effectively his voice in the Ulster dressing room doesn't have the effect anymore. It's old, it's tired. No, his time is up. Basically, combine that with the fact that Ulster, with all their fantastic young backline talent, had gone from being arguably the second most potent backline to being borderline impotent. Do you feel that McFarland is gone? Is he just finished now at this stage with Ulster?
To be honest, I was very surprised at the end of last season that he wasn't gone. No, I probably have a tainted view. I've some stories from a young man who wouldn't be too happy if I said what it was about or what was said. So my
go on, tell us. Go on, spill the beans.
But if he feeds very into him calling out his team in a press conference after a game, like you said, he's done it 2 or 3 times. It's gone stale. If it doesn't work the first time, it's definitely not working the second or the third time. And then look, I still think they're probably on a bit of a hangover from losing Jared Payne a couple of years ago, because realistically, I think he was probably the brains behind a lot of the operation. And yeah, everything just seems to be quite stale up there. And look, very easy for me to sit here, not even getting pro games every week, to be commenting on pro players and how things are going there. But if the dressing room is unhappy, I've been in those situations before, and it just bleeds into your performance on the pitch. And no matter how much you want to do it, when there's bullshit like that, excuse my language, going on in the background, it just doesn't help.
Sure. Peter, you were going to jump in. Did I ask that question in the end?
You did. You exactly asked what I was going to ask. What does Dylan think? Does he think Dan is going to be? This is last season, as we've spoken about here on numerous occasions on the show? Which are, yeah, you got that right. Anyway, sorry to go back to the Ulster Edinburgh game.
Yeah,
Ulster. I mean,
you lost for words there?
No, not really. I'm just trying to think where I'll start with this. Ulster, I think, are consistently inconsistent. I've said before, it's no secret. Ulster tend to be a 30-40 minute team. They dominate, they lead, and then it just all collapses on them, or they lose interest or whatever. And I think that is a McFarland issue, feeding into the mindsets, feeding into the dressing room, that the lads, I think they're kind of, Dylan, you touched on it. We've mentioned it before on the show. I think the players are kind of losing confidence or losing interest in playing for McFarland. And I really think Petrie and co need to change something, because it's, like our two Ulster, we have 2 Ulster moderators here, as we all know. And they would say the same thing. It's just not happening. There's something not right in Ulster rugby. No one knows what it is, but we can all state the obvious, that McFarland is making an absolute fucking balls of things up there, and he doesn't have the confidence of the players. But the game itself was pretty run of the mill. It wasn't great. It was, Edinburgh, I think, deserved to win it. I think they played slightly better rugby on the night. But other than that, Ulster, they need to do something from the top level down. Otherwise, it's just going to be rinse and repeat, week in, week out. And it'll be the same old story. And we'll find ourselves discussing the same thing over and over again on this show. There you go.
Claire, did you see the game? Have you any thoughts?
I didn't see the game, but I did see the comments made by Dan McFarland afterwards, and that's not a way to motivate your team that have just lost. Definitely not. In any job your boss doing that, it's not the way to come out. I didn't actually see the game. I seen stuff on the page afterwards. They have some good players up there, but they're just, you can have the greatest players in the world, but if you're not playing for your team, or or your captain or your coach, like you can put any amount of players on the any amount of the best players in the world, and they'll still lose if they don't believe in what they're playing for. And that seems to be what it is up there at the moment. That's from what I can see.
Mike Reedy.
I didn't actually see the game, but I agree. I agree with the sentiments of all of you guys. What players said there and what Dylan said. But I mean, throwing your players under a bus after the game is not a way to, especially when things haven't been going well at all. And I agree with what you said, Dylan. I'm surprised he started the season as the manager of Ulster after the way they finished last. So, like, and there's stuff going on in the background that we don't even know about, and something I don't want to know about either. I don't. What happens in shop should stay in shop, but it doesn't bode well. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's almost a case for changing the manager during the season. That's how serious I see their situation now. I think they are going to go into free fall if they don't do something rapid, because it's backwards. It's one step forwards and two steps back. And like what Peter Burke just said, they're at best a 40-minute team. They can't. They definitely cannot perform for 80 minutes. And you've got to at least hold your own for the part of the game where you're maybe not dominating, but they're not doing that at all. Like, they're throwing games away, and that was almost throwing that game away again the weekend. And the game was the same, and
Just what you're saying, Mike, there about Ulster being a 40-minute team. I have a friend, he's actually a member of this page. He's not a URC supporter, he's a Northampton Saints supporter. He says exactly the same about Northampton Saints. He says they're a 50-minute team, and if they're winning by enough at 50 minutes, they'll win. He said, but other than that, they're fucking shy. And that seems to be what's happening up in Ulster as well.
It's not.
Peter Burke, there's a comment there that's coming. We must start reading some of those Facebook users. Ulster are suffering from Libbok-itis.
I think they'd fucking settle for Libbok-itis.
That's
right?
just for Dylan's sake. We're along with Finn Russell, Peter Burke's a massive fan of Manny Libbok and feels he's a bit of a spoofer. So that's where that comment is coming from.
It's not some really good players, by the way, and it's going to be a shame if because they'll turn into average players if they don't get their shit sorted out quickly, like Doak and Tom Stewart.
James, I'll tell you what, Hume is one of their best players. Hume and Stewart are probably their best players at the moment.
Yeah, there's a comment from
another
Dennis
comment there.
Roslin.
Any coach, regardless of sport,
saying trainers, saying any coach regardless of sport, saying players aren't training hard enough is basically saying he's lost the players and has given up.
Surely you tell them the training pitch you're not training hard enough. You don't come out and say after a game.
Yeah, but is it not fair? Is it not fair to say though, and Dylan, perhaps you have an insight in this, is that basically at that level, it's all driven by the players. Like you'll have a leadership group, your senior players, your likes of Henderson, Herring, Cooney, maybe Billy Burns, and like the internationals would be basically, dragging the team and saying, right guys, that's not good enough. Too many drop balls. Let's fucking get this right. Is that fair to say, Dylan?
But that you'd imagine that'd be the case in, I suppose in any successful setup involved, and that's always been the case. But again, if you've got an authoritarian coach there who's trying to drive things in a certain direction or do things his own way, like players eventually get kind of fed up of, as much as you might be as you drive it, there's only so much to take before you're like, geez, what do I have to do here? Or, every time I open my mouth, I get something, rammed down my throat that I don't want to hear or don't need to hear. So like, again, like I said, it's not the first time he's done it. After a while, I think players just give up on managers like that or coaches like that, and you can't blame them either.
Totally agree.
But
totally agree.
Talk on standard of Ulster players out there. You look at someone like Ian Henderson, who's going to retire from Ulster having never won a trophy. Like stuff like that is crazy, and obviously that's pre-Dan's time up there. But like he obviously hasn't helped the situation. Successful 1 year, it's almost like the Eddie Jones effect. Like successful for year one, after that, it's just a drain on.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Moving on then to the last game of our, I suppose, that interests us from last weekend's action is Connacht versus Leinster. That was a hell of a match from my own perspective. But Dylan, again, I'll come to yourself. Your thoughts? Did you see it?
Yeah, divided loyalties.
Yeah.
Would you go on out of that?
Great game. In fairness, realistically, I think Connacht probably deserved to win it, but then again, maybe a little bit symptomatic of some of their play. The last season or two, they're finding themselves in games, and then silly little errors costing them at the end of the day, like ball going off the pitch, not being cleared. Big game moments, winning penalties, winning turnovers, and then not relieving the pressure properly, and you let Leinster come back at you. Like, you give Leinster enough opportunities, they're going to take them. They're just a top quality outfit, regardless of who's on the pitch, and ultimately that's what determined the game in the past. But I mean, great spectacle, great game to watch for a neutral. See those two teams really going at what wasn't a full strength Leinster team, but yeah, really enjoyable game to watch.
Absolutely. Mike Reedy, your thoughts?
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Good game. Like what Dylan said, Leinster maybe a bit fortunate to come out as victor, but you know what Leinster done what Leinster do. Give them a chance, and they will put you to the sword. I mean, they've done it now the last couple of weeks against Munster as well. You've got to take your chances. Now, Leinster, I have to say this: Leinster haven't played particularly well so far this season, and they're going to get better, and that has to be a worry for other teams, because if Leinster are getting results without actually playing that well, then other teams are going to have to raise their game. Now, I do think Leinster are going to have to up the ante substantially this weekend, coming in with La Rochelle coming. I'm not sure what La Rochelle are like, but Connacht, they played well, and they didn't close it out. They didn't close it out again, and they had chances and didn't take them. And Leinster got one chance at the end and full back over for a try that should have been playing fly half, as far as I'm concerned.
To see there's a comment from a Facebook list user there. As a Leinster fan, I have to say Connacht snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. They spent the last 5 minutes giving us a chance to beat them, and thankfully we took one of them. I personally, I'd absolutely concur with that, because they were like Connacht were ahead in the 79th minute. They just didn't play for a minute, and look what happened. Claire Devaney.
Kieran Froggy didn't do much for most of it, but done it when it mattered. I think he's more of a 10 than a 15, and I'm sure Mr. Burke will have that debate with me. As that Facebook user said, Connacht had the beating of us, but they just didn't beat us when it mattered, which was when it was dead ball time. It is fair play to Leinster. It's very hard to go to the sports ground and get a win, and they've done that in trying circumstances, which no doubt was. I think someone said it was -3 or -4 down there last Saturday night. Yeah, so I believe it was meant to be like absolutely Baltic, which a nice, lovely swirling rain as usual.
That's nearly as cold as Mike Reedy's house.
Nearly as cold as Mike Reedy's house. Yeah,
it's outside.
Okay, yeah, it's outside. But it was more a Connacht loss than a Leinster win, per se. And it does bring the debate: is Froggy a 10 or is Froggy a 15, or is Froggy going to be left lingering between the two of them and not excel at either one?
He's a 10. He's a fucking 10. Leave him at 10.
I believe he's a 10. I do believe he's a 10.
Right. So, Peter Burke, over to you to get your bit in.
Listen up for this now.
He has to warm up. Rant incoming. Dylan, these are epic, these rants.
No. It's not a...
Dylan, wait to hear. These rants do be epic when he starts. They are actually quite funny.
No,
sponsored and filled by Dynamite.
Yeah, Dynamite.
It's not a rant. right?
Okay, and here we go.
No, it's not. That game, and I said it in the group. That game was a game of 4 quarters, not 2 halves. First 20 minutes, actually, in the entire game, I saw someone say Leinster made more mistakes in that game than they did for the whole of last season. They didn't play well. Mike Reedy, you said it, and I think any rugby fan watching that game would say the handling errors. It was just, the Leinster, Mike, as you said, Leinster have not played well. But how often have we heard at test match level commentators saying about New Zealand, you just can't give this team a sniff, or they will take it and they will punish you. That's what Leinster did against Munster. That's what they did against Connacht. I mean, it was 19-8 going into to Connacht, going into the final 20 minutes. To Leinster. Blade scores, great try. Cagallan scores off a great break by Mac Hansen. Brilliant. I thought it was over. I was fucking nearly, as I said, nearly having a fucking stroke looking at that game. I was screaming at the fucking TV. The poor dog was having a fucking hernia listening to me. She fucking ran up the stairs. And then, like all great teams, now that wasn't obviously Leinster's first choice team, but like all great teams with attitude kicked into or built into or hammered into all the players by the coaching staff, never give up, and they don't give up. And you just cannot give any team, you cannot give Leinster a sniff or the ball or space or make a mistake, particularly in the last 5 minutes, or they will come after you, particularly if they're behind, and they'll try and win it. So they went up the left, breakdown over the far touchline, comes out. Frawley gets the ball, sidestep in, beats 2 or 3 defenders, over for the winning try, and Leinster win it. And
As a 10 should.
As a 10 should, yeah. As a 10 should, yes. But that's the sign of a good team. Now, like, yeah, Connacht should have won it, should have done it. My auntie had balls and all that. She'd be my uncle and all that. But they didn't, right? So the game's over, done and dusted. Connacht, yes, they would be disappointed. But it just shows the class of what Leinster bring for 80 minutes. For 80 minutes. Leinster are an 80-minute team. There's not many teams in this competition that play 80 minutes. The only team in the URC Leinster should be wary of, not fear, never fear, but wary of, are the Bulls. No other team. But the Bulls will give us a good game. And that's that's all I'd say about that.
I have to say, I think Leinster missed a chance last weekend to play Frawley, start him at 10, because going into play against La Rochelle with Harry Byrne starting there, what did he do now? He's not good enough to play as 10 against La Rochelle. It's as simple as that. And if they had played Frawley, gave him a full game at 10, they gave him most of the game against Munster, and he done very well when he came on. So why not start him? They've missed a trick there, so they could play anybody.
Mike, Frawley needs to start at 10. He needs to get regular game time at 10. Look what happened to Crowley and Munster when he got regular game time at 10. Crowley
actually, is he injured?
Stratospheric. I don't think so. But
he came off last week.
I don't know if he's fucking injured or not.
I was just asking. Sorry, he limped off last week. It was just a thought that random thought popped into my head.
Do you think Harry?
Anyway, just to jump in, guys, we may as well, seeing as you've already got the ball rolling, we will talk about this weekend's games, and I suppose we'll start from the top with, seeing as we've got the conversation rolling about the team, and should Frawley start at 10. We'll start with La Rochelle versus Leinster, and Peter Burke, I'll let you. You've started, so you may finish in the words of Magnus Magnuson. Frawley for 10.
Your starter for 10, as he would say. Frawley for 10. Listen. This has been spoken about on a few threads in the group about this Frawley Harry Byrne, because Ross is obviously out. A Frawley Harry Byrne debate about who would start at 10. There's no question. Frawley is a far superior attacking 10 than Harry Byrne, or even Ross Byrne, you could say. So I would definitely start Frawley at 10. Absolutely. Bring Jimmy O'Brien, Jimmy back three, Jimmy O'Brien.
Hugo Keenan be playing full back.
Hugo Keenan, and if James Lowe is available, put him on the other wing. But Frawley for me is a 10. La Rochelle, yeah, okay. This is a different prospect, a tougher prospect, but La Rochelle aren't playing well at the moment. So it'll be an interesting game. But but they were well beaten by Racing, though, weren't they?
No, that was the game they won. They bet Racing 23-18.
They were well. No, the one before that, they were well beaten by someone.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gone out of my head now. I can't think of it. But they were, they were well beaten.
You're right. Yeah.
This whole O'Gara thing, would that be an issue? I don't think so. O'Gara being banned from the sidelines now for this game, that won't matter a bollocks, to be honest with you. But it'll be a tough game. It'll be a 2-score game. I think Leinster might. I think Leinster will take it, but it'll be a 5-7 2-score game type thing. But it won't be easy. It never is against La Rochelle.
Sorry, Peter. I stand corrected. Racing bet them 32-10, and it was last weekend they hammered Perpignan 35-6. So apologies on that. But yeah,
Perpignan. Yeah.
There you go. Right, so just overall then, so are we get a prediction then? Are we looking at Leinster then? You're looking
Please
at
don't predict. Please don't predict. Please don't predict. Please don't predict. Please don't predict.
I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to predict, but it'll be a 2-score, 5-7 point type game. To whoever wins. To whoever wins.
Where's the game?
That's a very good prediction. We will take that. We will take that prediction, Mr. Burke.
The game's away, Mike. Dylan, your thoughts on the 10 saga, seeing as you got the little bit of the inside line.
Yeah, I suppose it's interesting, with Ross gone, it obviously opens a door for the 3 guys there, because to be honest, I think ruling Sam Prendergast out is probably a bit of a mistake. I know it's a huge step up from playing 20s to playing senior, but there's a reason they gave contract so early. Being in with them, seeing the way he pulls the strings and how he plays, I think he's going to have a lot to say. Maybe not this early in the season, maybe not against La Rochelle this week, but I think that Sam's going to really throw his hat in the mix there as well. The thing that is interesting to take into account is if James Lowe isn't available and they play Jimmy O'Brien on the wing, well, then Frawley's kind of your perfect 23 man because he covers everything. And I'd imagine Leinster are probably going with the 6-2 split because of, I suppose, all things past and how they've done that split the last, probably in preparation for this game, which means that Frawley's obviously the perfect character to cover everything. But yeah, interesting to see what they do. Harry with big run going down this channel, whereas a lot bigger, a bigger man, maybe be able to deal with it a little bit more. It's hard to know what they're going to do as a hooker as well. I can't exactly throw my expertise into it for it. If it were me, I'd say Harry probably has the upper hand there. Not to say that's right, but I think with James Lowe being out, Jimmy O'Brien on a wing, Frawley covering I suppose the entire backline off the bench, Harry at 10 and a 6-2 split is probably how I'd see them going with it.
Just there's a comment there. That comment that came in there. Sorry. One of the best things Harry Byrne has gone from is the pub named after him in Clontarf. We're going to come out of this pool, so why not Good Froggy?
Yeah, good pub.
Yeah, well, come here, Dylan. What about Jordan Larmour?
Oh yeah.
Where would you like if Jordan Larmour is available? Surely he could play wing. You'd have maybe if James Lowe is available, put Jimmy O'Brien on the other wing, and then you have the fullback. I don't know why the Hugo Keenan at fullback.
Yeah,
Gibson Park 9, Frawley 10. Maybe Ringrose or Henshaw or Osborne or whoever you want.
Osborne's injured.
Is he? All right. Then Henshaw maybe and Ringrose. if that works or whatever in the centre of the park. Like, so there's your 9 to 15.
Yeah, so if you've got Jimmy on one wing and then either Larmer or Lowe on the other wing and Keaton at fullback, Crawley covering everything off.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. All right. I prefer Frawley at 10. I'd love to see him get great game time at 10.
I think as well, the way I suppose Harry's had a very unlucky string of injuries and he hasn't really been able to put the performances together as people probably would have expected maybe 2 years ago. Maybe it's the right thing to do in terms of if that's the way they're going to go this season. If that's the guy, if he's going to be their guy, then you need to do it as early as possible and get him as much game time as possible. I think if that was the plan, they probably would have done it in the URC leading up to it. Obviously, they've got a lot of juggling there because of the squad, because of the quality of players and trying to keep everyone happy. But if your plan was to play Frawley at 10 for your Heineken Cup games or Champions Cup games, I think you would have seen it more in the URC leading up to it to give him some time there. Because we haven't seen it, I think they're probably going to go with Harry, that 6-2 split, and Frawley to cover everything.
Utility back.
Yeah, I suppose the other thing as well, I suppose, is that this year's format is slightly different. Is that there's 4 teams, 4 pools of 6, if I'm not mistaken, and it's based. There's a bit more room. It's 4 teams from the pools of 6 to qualify, so there's a little bit more wriggle room. There's nobody has to be so fast out of the traps, getting the result down. They can, certain teams can suffer 1 or 2 mishaps and still have a good chance of getting out. Does that perhaps maybe play into thinking as well?
I think the only thing there that the issue for Leinster is because they didn't get that number 1 seed. If they then go through having lost games rather than as a top one going through, similar to Munster, if you look at who they could end up playing in a last 16 game, I think they're going to want to try to start quick, get the wins under their belt, and try to go through as a top finisher, and try to get that easier draw home 16, home quarterfinal again. Obviously, they won't get the home final this year, but I think if you don't go for it early, I think you're going to find yourself in a world of trouble. You'll get through. Like you're looking at kind of Connacht there. Bordeaux home and away is obviously going to be tough if Bordeaux decide to turn up for it. So I would imagine even Connacht, I think Connacht are going to get through to a last 16, but it's then you end up going to play the Bulls in South Africa or Toulouse or something, and that's kind of good night Vienna.
Okay, Mike Reedy, your thoughts on briefly on your thoughts on La Rochelle and Leinster?
Well, I think I agree with what Dylan said. I think Harry Byrne probably has to start at 10 now because he did last weekend. That's what I said. They should have started Frawley at 10 if they had any intentions of playing him against La Rochelle. So they've missed the boat really there a little bit. I genuinely don't think Harry Byrne is good enough now to be playing at 10 for Leinster, and Frawley should have been there. And I'd have had Prendergast on the bench, giving him a bit of game time.
Yeah, Sammy's good.
But they haven't now, so they're going to have to. They're probably going to have to go with Harry Byrne again. And I'll be honest with you. I think if Leinster come out of this with a losing bonus point, could be a decent result away in La Rochelle. Now, given fair enough, La Rochelle maybe haven't been playing that well, but they're going to be up for this game big time, and it's a tough prospect going there.
Is it the fact that Roger's in their head? Is it the fact and it's one of them things? They're the team that we can't beat because they're in our heads. Not that we physically can't beat them. It's a mental block because they've bet us the last 2 times when it count in the finals.
You've got to get over that.
Claire. It's like our quarterfinal.
Block. It's a mental block
in the fucking World Cup. It's like that. It gets into your head. The psychology of it. Yeah. Absolutely. Totally agree with you.
And if you're going out with that mindset pre-game, unless you can get that out of your system.
I wouldn't say that they're going out with that mindset, but I'd say it's the tiny little thing just niggling here, just like the little niggle that's there. I wouldn't say they're going out with the mindset of they're going to beat us because it's La Rochelle and they've bet us the last 2 times, but I'd say it's just that little, as was Mr. Burke said, it's the quarter final thing. It's that final thing that you just can't get over. And once you get over it, then it's gone completely. Like where we couldn't beat New Zealand for ages, and then we start beating them.
Okay, Claire, have you anything else? Have you anything else further to say before I move on to
No,
the other
no,
matches?
that's it. That's it.
You've said your bit. Okay,
Yeah.
Claire, I'll start with you then on this one. Going swinging around up to our neighbours over in the west. Connacht are facing Bordeaux at home. How do you see that one going?
Connacht are at home or the in Bordeaux?
Connacht are at home.
But I'd say Connacht to win that one.
Okay.
Yes, Connacht are going to win that one.
Okay. A previous guest we've had on here is coaching Bordeaux's backline, Mr. Noel McNamara. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with practically a good number of that French backline with Boy Barry. He's also got Penno there as well, and Moafana is playing in that backline. So it'll be interesting to see
Can I take my answer back? I think Bordeaux are going to win.
Oh, you're such a spoofer.
I haven't. To be honest with you, I haven't seen the team. I'll go with the Connacht. Home advantage is 5 to 7 points. So we'll go with Connacht. They're going to win.
Okay, fair enough. Mike, do you want to jump in and give us your thoughts, please?
Tough game for Connacht, but if they play as well as they can, which they have been playing decent enough, I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't seen anything of Bordeaux, so I have nothing to go on as far as regards them. But if Connacht play as well as they're a hard team to beat in Galway. I know they done it last weekend particularly well, but I think Connacht will have learned from that defeat as well against Leinster. They'll know that they have to perform for the 80 minutes. So
sure.
Fingers crossed for Connacht. I really want them to win that by 7 points.
Okay, Peter Burke, your thoughts, please.
I think Bordeaux will win that.
And that's all you have to say.
Well, yeah, a home advantage is great and all that. It's in the sports ground. As we said last week, the sports ground is never an easy place to go. Connacht will be reading from, a game they thought they were going to win. That'll be in their head. Bordeaux beat. Bordeaux have had some good results in the top 14. They've quality players. I don't think Bordeaux will fear going to the sports ground. And I just think if you look at the potential 15 or 23 that they'll field, I just think they might have a bit too much for Connacht. That's why I'm saying that.
Okay. Dylan, last word to you on this one.
Yeah, again, early in the weeks, it'll be interesting to see what teams go out. So 2 things there, I suppose. Do Connacht take their eye off Champions Cup and try to focus on URC? Because straight after these 2 games, they've got another Irish derby against Ulster. And on the same foot, different shoe, do Bordeaux kind of come full, or do they take the real French approach of let's focus on the top 14 and we can lose a game or 2 here and still get through into the last 16 if we want to have a crack at it later on. Bundyaki coming back for Connacht as well, potentially big plus for them. I'm going to go Connacht. I'd get a lot of messages from lads I know down in Galway if I didn't. I'll go Connacht. I think again between the home advantage, really cold, miserable night. Bordeaux obviously a star-studded backline, but from little bits and pieces I've seen in highlights, I don't think their pack are overly fantastic. And that's probably where it'll be won. So yeah, I'll go with Connacht.
Just on that about the venue, I saw a piece in the paper that Bernard Jackman had put in, saying that in the past, French teams would rock up to the sports ground and was pissing out of heavens. It was howling a gale. They'd walk onto the pitch in their tracksuits and start, looking at the pitch and wandering around, and they looked like they could have been anywhere but Galway, given the circumstances. Now, the fact that they've got this, and that's, back when they had the old crappy pitch, you think that perhaps, the little bit of the edge, that possibly the perceived edge that was there, that they've dug up the grass pitch and laid down, in all weather. Do you feel that possibly is a little bit makes a sports ground on a wet and windy winter night a little bit less hostile to them? Is a little bit more, teams can say, look, we can play here because it's a pitch. We're not going to be stuck down in the boggy corner or defending the line or kind of thing. Do you think that's a little bit there, or because?
Yeah, I mean, you look at it in two ways. You look at it that way, or you look at it the 4G probably suits Connacht's playing style now a little bit more than it did 10 or 15 years ago. Really 15 or 20 years ago, I suppose. Back in those days, Connacht were at a level where, again, we were talking about disbanding them, and so it was a case of the worse the pitch, the worse conditions, the more of an even playing field it is. Whereas now you're looking at Carl Ford, Bundy Aki, Tom Farrell, Caelan Blade, Mac Hansen.
Yeah.
Those guys they're only going to thrive on the 4G. And then obviously from a scrum and mauling perspective, like if you're not playing on a 4G every week and then you go and scrum on a 4G, it's a very different process. It's a very different thing in terms of what you have to do with your feet. So all of a sudden you've got a big pack who think they can monster you coming, and they're losing their feet at scrum time. So now they're effectively losing their real dominant piece or their edge there as well. So you can look at it both ways. You can look at it, okay, you're losing that kind of maybe hostility, but you're gaining opportunity for you to score, and it's a pitch that some of the French teams, the vast majority of them, probably won't be all that used to. And it's still going to be cold. The wind still blows the same way. The crowd are on top of you, especially with that new clan sound. Old now, but they're probably even more on top of you than they were in the past. So it probably hasn't lost that hostile edge, although probably a little bit nicer to play on now.
Excellent stuff. That's thanks for that insight on that. Just moving on, then we've just got the Bath versus Ulster. Peter Burke, I'll come to you. An interesting matchup, seen as we've ex-Munster coach and potentially a bit of a spoofer as a coach, leading the Bath team that's doing really well against an Ulster team who we've already spoken about is not in a good spot.
Yeah, interesting matchup. Jesus, I'd possibly say that Bath will win this simply because they have home advantage.
And because they have your favourite player in the world.
Shut up. No, he's fucking shite. Fucking load of
Never going to give it down, Mr. Burke. We know what we're getting you for Christmas.
Yeah, all right.
The Secret Santa.
No, but I don't.
Not
No,
so Secret Santa.
The way if Ulster were playing any better than they are currently, and they're not playing well at the moment, you'd kind of give them a chance. But away to Bath, who have a few, quality players, I can't see Ulster winning this one, to be honest with you. I really can't. I think Bath will do a number on them. There you go. That's my thoughts on that.
Okay, Claire.
I hate to admit this, but I have to agree with Mr. Burke.
Ooh.
Yes, I do. I've been watching a bit of the Premiership, and Bath have been playing actually quite well, considering. But I do think they will, with home advantage, they're going to have that slight bit more over Ulster in their home ground.
Okay, Dylan, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if Bath go fully loaded and have Russell, Redpath, and Lawrence in that midfield, I think they'll just cut Ulster apart.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike.
Unfortunately, I have to agree. I just don't think Ulster. I mean, this could go one of two ways. It's either shit or get off the pot for Ulster now. Really, if they don't front up in this game, there's going to be a real long season from them. They have to. They might just turn up, by the way, and actually play for once. I'd like to see that, but I don't. I think Bath will win it.
I think myself, just on that Ulster game, I think that they've Ulster have almost nothing to lose because they are in the place they're in. The players could probably get themselves together and say, listen, forget about what's going on, forget about Dan, let's go out and do this. And they've enough talent, I think. There's enough in their pack. They've enough in the back line, obviously. They've enough as a team to do a job, but it's a big if. It's a big if. Moving on to the last and final game we're covering, Munster versus Bayonne. Munster, you're calling that one, Claire?
Yeah, I'll call that one, yeah.
Okay, Dylan.
Yeah, Munster really should win this. You're looking at Bayonne, are kind of that team in the top 14 that go up and down every second year. So don't think their heads are really going to be in this, although they did quite well last season. But yeah, I think Munster to win, Bayonne to score 2 Maul tries.
Very good. Mike, your thoughts as the Munster man here?
Munster bonus point win, as far as the way I see it.
Munster bonus point win. Mr. Burke?
Yeah, I'd agree with what Dylan, Claire, and Mike have said. I'd say Munster will have a bonus point wrapped up before halftime.
Jesus, did I say that much? Didn't realise I said that much with my comments.
No, but I was agreeing with you all that Munster will win it. I'd say they'll have it wrapped up at halftime. You know, Munster would they'd be too strong for them.
What time is
Right.
that? Who's playing Friday night? Oh, I was saying who's playing Friday night?
Friday night is Connacht. Connacht are playing Friday night.
Okay,
Yeah.
just because my Christmas party is on, so I may or may not see it.
Uh-huh.
You
And
won't
if
see
I
anything.
And if I
It's
do,
that
I may
time of
see it
year.
like that.
You
Yeah.
won't see anything for the fucking weekend after your fucking
Well-
Christmas party.
Probably not. More than likely not.
Yeah. Your fucking
Yes.
kidneys and your liver will be the size of a fucking raisin after your Christmas
Yeah,
party.
and I will have many, many spice bags. It's fine.
Yeah.
There you
There
go.
will be many, many spice bags.
Yeah. You'll be
Okay,
singing fucking,
folks.
you'll be singing
Sorry.
fucking a hungover song, Ring of Fire, for about 2 or 3 days after your Christmas party.
Okay, and that's another sorry. Yeah. Love you too, Mr. Burke. Poor Dylan is going, what's this about? It's a whole side joke,
Yeah.
Dylan. Yeah,
well,
we'll explain different time.
The nightmare is almost over. Listen, we ran a good bit over the time there. Looks like to thank Dylan for coming on this evening. It's been very
Thanks, Dylan.
insightful. Thanks for your insight as regards how Clontarf are going. Hope the rest of the season continues well. We'll be watching from afar, and I hope you stay top of the try scoring exploits.
Thanks a million. Great to chat to you all.
No,
Thanks,
no,
Dylan.
Good
Thanks.
night, folks. And
I said it all.
this abomination of a broadcast will be on YouTube and Facebook.
Good
Don't
night,
watch
all.
it, however. Good night, folks.
Bye.
Take care.
Cheers, bye, bye.
Bye bye.
Take care.